Welcome to the Go Grava channel. I have some notes here. Have a complex topic because we are going to be talking about, should I service e-bikes from like a bike shop owner perspective, and then also to kind of help maybe some e-bike owners and the people who own e-bikes and scooters understand the inside complexity of doing electric service. And I was inspired by this video by Matthew Fox, who has a YouTube channel called Bootstrap Bike Shop, and he has a great business model I'm a little jealous of in this hectic summer because he focuses on one avatar. He drives at home and probably works half as much as I do to a certain extent here in my second year, just focusing on that one avatar. I was forced to spread across like 3 avatars, which is cyclists, e-scooter people, and e-bike people. But I'm gonna really kind of answer the question, like, should you even, if you have a bike shop, and I know it could be slow right now possibly, or it's still slow. Bike shops have been suffering in 2023, 24, into 25. And how far should you go into the e-bike realm or supporting these this mobility concept that I'm going through? And I got to tell you, it hasn't been very much fun in the beginning, and I lost a lot of money, and I'm going to tell you why. Okay, so we're going to sit here next to our lift, our bike lift. Very, very expensive bike lift. That's one thing to a bike shop owner. Like, if you're going to do e-bikes and service these e-bikes, they run anywhere from like 60 to 120 pounds. And these bike lifts run anywhere from $3,000 to $6,000 for a bike lift. That is a huge cost. Now, if anybody knows most bike shops are run by cyclists, right? And anybody knows like competitive cyclists or people who cycle a lot, they're not known to be really strongman individuals, like deadlifting 315 pounds and things like that. So getting a normal person who rides a bike to lift a 90-pound e-bike by themselves onto the bike stand is not realistic. They'll have to buy a bike stand. That's one of the difficulties when you own a bike shop, is you're going to have to invest in a lot of tools that you normally wouldn't invest in, like a $4,000 electric bike lift. So you, the consumer out there, wondering why don't any of these bike shops support e-bikes? Well, it's not that easy. The tool investments you got to do in the very beginning is very, very expensive. And you say, oh, hey, well, if you do enough work with e-bikes and there's such big demand out there, well, yeah, but it takes a lot of work to get your money back just on a bike lift. Then the people you hire, the people who work in the shop, have to know how to use a multimeter. You got to have somebody in the shop with a background in electrical engineering to a certain extent. It gets very difficult. So I've been doing this for 1.5 years, just over a year, doing the e-stuff. And you as a bike shop could probably handle hydraulic brakes. Now, there's an exception. Let's talk about hydraulic brakes. I have seven bleed kits. I have 7 bleed kits because every one of these e-bike companies wants to use a different type, some unknown, Disneyland or whatever they want to call it in China, hydraulic brake system that has a different bleed port than nobody else has. It is crazy the amount of investment I needed to put into just having bleed kits for all these different e-bikes. Now, you can change the cassettes, you can change the chain. There are some basic things you can do as a bike shop, but I tell you right now, none of this is cheap. Any e-bike that comes into my shop, bottom price for it to go on the lift is $70. So you want a flat tire change on an e-bike with this 26 by 4 inch tube, that's $26, $27. You're looking at $90 just for a flat tire on your e-bike. Why is that? Because all the equipment I need to service e-bikes is very, very expensive. Now, other parts of the e-bike suck too, because all these different companies are using all these different components and pieces that have all kinds of different pin connectors. These pin connectors have to be cut, redone, rewired. to even work with this e-bike. This is a custom dual motor controller we have on this e-bike. This was bought from another bike shop, and we're the only business within probably the entire state doing custom motor controller work. And I tell you right now, this is not profitable. The engineer Aaron has been working on this probably 30 hours, and we're not even close to deciding if we're going to do this kind of work. We're just seeing if it's possible. Is it possible to 3D print some things and get this work done in a reasonable amount of time? This customer is paying $1,000 to try to get this dual motor e-bike back up and running, and we're 6 weeks into this job. And we have some other ones we're working on too. I haven't made the final decision yet, but I will this winter if we even touch this stuff with custom controllers, because right now we haven't figured out how to do it quickly and rapidly. How, you know, if I could find a way to pretty much have pre-programmed power curves and all this stuff, so everything becomes plug and play and we're just rebuilding some connectors, rewiring some things, and we can get this job done in 6 hours, then maybe it's worth my time taking this work in. But as it stands now, this is a money sump, losing money on this job. And there's other problems that are even bigger than that. Now, we have seen a lot of success from working on e-bikes and e-scooters. It's 56% of my revenue. And if it wasn't for that, I don't know this bike shop would be around here in 2025. I'm struggling at least by myself trying to keep this thing running. But the other major issue that I have doing this e-mobility stuff is there's no margin on parts. There is no wholesale distributor in the United States where I can buy, let me just grab something, where I could buy something as simple as a throttle control at a wholesale price and then sell it at the retail price to the consumers. You got to remember that just like auto repair shops, there has to be a margin on parts and there has to be a margin on labor to pay rent and insurance. And my insurance is really high, folks, really high. But to pay all of this stuff, to cover all of my expenses and in the end make a profit, because in the end I got to make a profit to pay me, to pay Aaron. Otherwise, what am I doing? This is not worth it if I can't make any money at it. So I have to solve this winter, figure out if I can solve the wholesale part stuff. I mean, if I had enough money, I could. Basically, I know everything I need to buy and everything I had to warehouse. I just don't have the money right now in my second year to invest $30,000, $40,000 in parts, warehouse them here, and then create accounts for all bike shops, e-bike shops that want to get wholesale parts that they know will work and have some sort of supply chain in the United States. That is a huge problem because I get wholesale, I get margin on parts, which is important. So what I can guarantee you, if I don't have margin on parts, my hourly rate, let's just call it hourly. I don't like calling it hourly, but right now I charge $135 about an hour or so. That price is probably going to go between $150 to $175 to work on anything electric. It's going to be that high. And I'm going to have to do it because the demand was so high this summer. I need to raise prices to get people not to come in the door. Because when you have a problem when too many people are coming in for work, the only way to solve that is to raise your prices. And then you get to a level where the work is consistent and steady and at a price that works for you, and you can complete the work within a time frame that's reasonable. So a year and a half into this, still haven't solved everything, but by the end of this year, we'll know exactly what we can do reasonably and what we can work on that actually turns a profit. And we're not spending 30 hours trying to figure out how to program controllers. We either have a baseline of controllers we know work that we can hot swap and replace parts, and then we're just changing connectors out. And I will not work on batteries. We know how to do batteries. We can build our own batteries in-house. We've messed around with that. We have the equipment now to do it, but the liability of battery building or battery repair is not something my insurance company would shit a brick if they found out I was building and rebuilding batteries in here. We're not doing that. We try to recycle the batteries as much as we can. I keep a low amount of batteries in the store just for stuff that we're working on. Okay, so now I'm sitting in the front of the store next to the e-bikes. Got this, check this out, this little Hemingway pony here. the bike snob in me says this thing's an absolute monstrosity, but people like it, and I'm selling what people want, not what I like. That's what I figured out owning a business. But let's be frank here for a second. I think bike shops kind of understand what's going on with e-bikes, and it would be smart, if you don't know much about electric, to not get into it. It's risky. It's a money loser for a period of time, and until you master it. And then my problem is once if I'm going to hire somebody, when your business gets flowing, operationally you need to have operating procedures, right? You need to have operating procedures that are easy to understand, easy to replicate, and easy to do. That keeps the flow of work steady, and it keeps the money coming into the bike shop. My concerns are long term. If I hire somebody, how hard is it going to be to take a new person in and teach them everything about doing all this complex e-work? It's an obstacle, right? So not only is it hard on the back end, since there's no wholesale parts or anything, it's very difficult on the operational side too. So I don't know if this mobility model is going to work. I mean, I'm just in my second year of it, and we still haven't figured everything out yet. I see opportunities. There's plenty of opportunities with the right amount of funding, if I could get it, which again is hard as a new business, getting funding, but I see plenty of opportunities out there to do these things, to operationalize mobility, to operationalize the electrical side of things. But I do have concerns that it's too complicated to pass on or move on, even through YouTube videos and training courses and stuff, this level of repair. So let's talk about a couple of stories. So you as a consumer buying all these e-bikes, I know they're like $600, $700, $800, but they are still very complex or difficult to repair stuff. I don't know how to explain it, but you're buying e-bikes that don't have a back-end supply chain for parts. And let's talk about stories that have happened in the shop. So we had one customer bypassed us and decided to buy a brake light for their bike because our prices are too much. They wired up the braking system wrong and fried their whole e-bike, and we did end up repairing it, but that was about a $750 bill because we had the cabling system had to be redone completely with new connectors and stuff like that, because even the jewel cable that you buy, which is like, let's say, one wire harness to like 6 on the cockpit of the bike right here, I mean, that gets pretty complex. Just that wire harness fried that whole thing. We had another person who didn't want to pay the $70 flat tire fee for the e-bike with the $26 or $28 tube. So they went and did it themselves. And again, you need a lift because you got to get that big old heavy motor down. There's no way. Doing it without a lift is nearly impossible. Or trying to lift an 80-pound e-bike onto a bike stand is absolutely horrible. So this person decided, and it's not just this person, it's been like 15 people, I think, this summer that have chosen this route to do it themselves. Well, on the back end of an e-bike is these torque washers that go in, and you have to hook that back end up exactly as you took it down. And if you don't, the axle on that rear motor will spin. Well, the power cord goes into that rear axle, and if that twists, those wires start to break and then make contact and short your controller board in your bike, and you fry your entire e-bike. Best case scenario is you just fry a part of the controller that you have, and then it doesn't have like maybe a battery display, or you don't have pedal assist anymore, but throttle still works. But 15 people at least this summer have fried their e-bikes by trying to change their rear motor back tire themselves. And this is why we charge so much money, because one, I got to use expensive equipment to lift that thing off the ground, and it's not as easy as you think it is. And there's no back-end supply chain, and I get no access to wholesale parts. So if I don't have that, imagine how much you as a bike shop owner will have to charge somebody in labor if you had to pay for all your bike parts retail price. Your labor would be a heck of a lot higher than it is now. So would I recommend a bike shop to get into the e-bike realm? Not saying you can't service an e-bike. You can service brakes, chains, things like that, tires and stuff, and tubes. That's not a problem. But getting into the complex electronics is not something. It's something I was forced to do because as a bike shop, a new bike shop, when everybody already has their bike shops they like going to, I didn't have the revenue to stay afloat, and everybody just kept calling me about servicing their e-bike. So I said, bring it in. I'm just going to figure it out. And luckily, I'm a guy who's smart enough who can figure the electrical stuff out. I remember in, I think it was 2012, I bought my first plasma screen TV. It went out in 3 months. I pulled the control board off, noticed the capacitor was popped, so I just took the soldering iron out, pulled one out, grabbed the new one, soldered it on, boom, my TV worked again. So I don't find soldering or electric that difficult. And when I was in the military, I was in charge of radar technicians that had to do that sort of work. So I had to have a basic level of understanding of electrical work. Not that I'm an expert, not that I would do anything that Engineer Airing's doing back there, but I have an understanding of how it all works. So unless you have that understanding, I would never approach it. So you as a consumer now, I would say that's why a lot of bike shops are not going to just touch this e-bike stuff. And cautionary tale to anybody opening an e-bike shop, unless you know this stuff inside and out, you're going to find it very, very difficult in the beginning. You better have a strong enough cash reserve to sustain yourself, because something that takes me maybe 30 minutes to do could take you 4 hours. Only because we've gone through all the problems with these e-bikes. I've invested so much time and money into understanding how all of these different e-bikes, thousands of e-bikes companies operate, that it is not something to go in like, oh yeah, not a problem, I can figure this out, because it is not easy. And I haven't even decided if we're going to completely do everything that we think we can do, like replacing controllers and stuff like that, because right now I'm losing money on it. If I had to pay Aaron every hour he was working to do the controller stuff, it wouldn't be a profit. I would be losing money with that hourly wage eating into that stuff. But he's doing some of this stuff on his own. What I'm saying is e-bike work is not easy. And it didn't make me, it wasn't a money winner in the beginning. And I would say I'm probably more providing a service right now to local bike shops in my area, because they are sending all these phone calls in my direction for this e-bike work. I have people coming from up to 4 hours away. So I have people coming down from New York to get their e-bikes worked on. And where do I draw the line? I draw the line at my lift's weight capacity, which is 110 pounds. And that's another story. I have people coming with electric motorcycles that I have to turn away. I am not bringing in electric motorcycles into the shop. That's just not what I'm doing. And there's nobody that can work on that stuff. And there's probably too few people that have them where it makes any business sense. There's like 120, 130 pound e-trikes that I turn away. There is the Surons, what I call e-moto. The e-moto stuff I don't like working on because my lift cannot pick it up. I don't want to work on an e-bike if I can't pick it up and get it off the ground. I do not want to be working on the ground on my knees all day long, because I'm too old for that. Even if you were 20 years old, it's just not a fun thing to do all day long. And so I do draw the line on some things. I do draw the line on scooters that have 5,000 watt motors and big huge batteries and 13 to 15 inch tires. Getting a 15-inch tubeless tire back on the rim is a pain. Getting a 13-inch tubeless tire onto a rim is a pain. Like, I even bought a Cheetah at one point, those Cheetahs that you put up to the rim and try to blast like car tires back on or whatever. Like, you know, and as I'm like opening the Cheetah, it's blowing my front doors open inside the building. Like, it's just not possible. There's certain things that you can't do because some of this stuff is crossing into the moto world, the gas world, and you have to draw the line somewhere. Plus, that avatar for those things is way too different than bicycles. At least a bicycle avatar person is similar to an e-bike avatar, like bicycles, e-bikes, e-scooters is kind of mobility, but I have to draw the line with mobility somewhere, if that makes any sense. But yeah, by 2026, I'll know exactly what my profiles are, what we will and will not do, and I'm going to kind of stick to that. There's things that are definitely not worth it, not worth my time. If it takes me 3 hours to get a scooter tire on because it's a 13-inch tubeless scooter tire, like, it's not worth my time at all. Or maybe it is if I charge you $500. It's like, maybe it'd be worth my time then. But there are things that are super difficult because what has happened is the e-market has outrun the supply chain behind it. And so there's tremendous opportunity, I think, in that back-end supply chain that doesn't exist right now for bike shops like me. There is no wholesaler for any of this stuff. And I may just create that myself if I can just show a bank that we 7x revenue on our second year through e-mobility, and maybe that would do it. But I don't know. Don't have the money yet. Getting to a point where might have my loan paid off, which is going to be in my next video. We're doing an event with Turn this weekend, and it's going to be maybe like a Mr. Beast challenge. How many bikes can we sell before my loan is paid off? My second year loan, to kind of get inventory in here. But yeah, that's it. It's been quite the challenge. I'm doing something I wouldn't recommend most people to do. You have to have a lot of energy, and you got to be ready to work a tremendous amount of hours to figure out if this thing will work. If it does work, we'll have a model that we can help people with, at least to understand what you can and can't do in a mobility shop, and what is too far, and what is actually becomes pretty easy when you get your reps in, like 10, 15, 20 times doing one thing, where it does make sense and you are making decent living doing these things. So I know I might have rambled there, everybody, but yeah, let me show you. Let me try to grab this speaker thing and go back and look at the chaos in the electrical section, what we're kind of messing with here at the end of this video here. But you can see this is just a mess. Look at this thing, just a mess. We had to rewire that. We have a custom controller going on Hemingway C5. We have another little bike we're trying to save here, another one up on the stand we're trying to save, and that's the shame of it, that all of these bikes are going to end up in some sort of landfill or something because nobody supports them. They just pumped out stuff without a back-end supply chain, and nobody's that I know of has been able to solve that problem right there. We're solving it, we're doing it, but we're not doing it in a way that I think is profitable yet. So that's where we're at with e-mobility. Thanks you, Matthew Fox, for bringing us up in your video, and we're just going to keep continuing and going, and I'll let everybody know what my final decision is in 2026 as we head into season, what I think is reasonable, what is not reasonable for a mobility shop. Until we talk again, bye.